Thank you for joining the session. And why should I talk about test reporting in times where AI is the hype, like we have seen in the keynote, and there's another note ongoing about AI, but test reporting remains important, even in times of AI, you will see. I guess your test reports, dashboard, do they like this, some similar? You recognize it, something similar? Okay, then you are all good. So that's how my test reports typically looks like. And even if I do it like this, then I have kind of frustration. You have those famous go-no-go meetings, you know them. You put all your effort in these all nice graphs, metrics. And then it happened to me three kind of situations. Situation one, no one around the table is asking anything about one of those metrics data. So you don't have even a clue. Is it clear? Do they understand the message? No. Second situation, they asked some questions. They asked for some explanation. But at the end, they simply say, we just ignore you. Whatever you say, we just go into production. And third situation, what really happened to me was that someone stands up at the table, went to the beamer screen and was nagging every single figure. Why is this 2? Why is this 4? Why is this 5? Three kind of situations. This sound familiar to you? Okay, you are all good. Please stay. So then first I thought, yeah, that's this kind of shitty customer having no clue of testing, no caring about quality at all, but this kind of situation happened to me, project after project, but even customer after customer. And then I thought, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it's time to introduce what I call subjective test reporting. Okay, subjectivity. Who likes this painting? If you like it, just raise your hand. Okay. This is subjective. And why do you like it? Yeah. So, if we would ask you, what time of the day is it? Is it in the morning? Night? Who say morning? The other ones say night? Yeah. Which season is it? Summer? Autumn? Early spring? Yeah. Okay. This is subjectivity. This is subjectivity. Subjectivity means that everyone in the room looks to something with his own perception, with his own background, own ideas, own biases. And that's perfectly acceptable, especially when it goes to art. There is a famous Latin phrase, de gustibus et coloribus non disputandum est, meaning about personal flavors, preferences, we don't discuss. But subjectivity and testing, this is fighting. When I started my career in testing, then I still remember a key message in one of the courses when it came to test reporting. And it told me, as a tester, you have to be objective. You have to be neutral. It's your task to collect all the data, all the metrics, but it's up to others to take a decision on it. The good thing of objectivity is, well, it doesn't leave a lot of room for interpretation. If I score, in this example, on a test 50%, then I have a C grade. No discussion at all. And so, based on that key message, when I start reporting, I did it from a metrics-oriented thinking perspective. And in the project, I always try to collect data and metrics to answer a question on two things. How effective are we with our testing, and how efficient are we with our testing? And that are the famous questions about do things right and do the right things. And the summum for every one that collect metrics and data is to find metrics that in this area, which can tell you something, how productive are you if you are really using your budget, your resources as efficient as possible. And then typically in each of those quadrants, then you have those famous metrics like defect leakage, how many defects are leaking from one phase to another. Here, just the more simple ones, test case pass, fail, bug found, and so on. And of course, here, review efficiency. How many bugs can we avoid by doing already a review in the beginning of your requirements analysis? So that's fine. And I did it up to a couple of years, always like this. But even this is not working. This is not working because I arrived in one of the situations I described in the beginning. So then I thought, okay, what can I do else? And I put myself 4 questions. Question 1, is there something as the objective truth? And I hope you agree that the answer is no. No, there is no such thing as the objective truth. And there are many reasons for that to explain, but one of the well-known reasons is biases. We are subjected to cognitive biases, meaning that even if you are not aware of, if you don't want to do it on purpose, in your thinking, in your reasoning, you use all kinds of biases. And on the web, if you search on the term cognitive biases, you find the whole list of all different kinds of biases. I will explain you 3 that I apply myself in one of those projects. First one is the negativity bias. That's focusing on the bad things. Think at your role as test coordinator and the famous, we have so many open defects, severity high, we cannot go into production, so many test cases we are behind, we miss resources, requirements are not clear. So we start by spoiling our stakeholders with all the bad news without telling them what did we good. Because of course we are doing things good and things are running well, but we start focusing on what is going bad. Another example is what I call the bandwagon effect. And the bandwagon effect is you influence conduct, thinking of people by expressing opinions. It was in a project where we are working in a kind of test center with a couple of test coordinators. And I worked on a project with a developer, I will call him Mark. But Mark was not a big fan of quality. And so you can imagine every time I had to test a new build of Mark, it was really a nightmare. So a lot of defects every release again. And I tried to explain, Mark, come on, guy, don't throw it over the wall, do your best, but he just ignored me. A new guy joined the team, and during lunch we were talking, and I was asking, okay, on which projects are you working? And he told me, yeah, in one of the projects I work with Mark. And he said, whoa, Mark, ooh, this guy, this will be a real nightmare for you. Mark, that's really, prepare yourself, take more time to log a lot of defects. But that guy didn't meet yet Mark. So I already influenced my new colleague. And the last example is what I call inattentional blindness, is just miss obvious things. It was in a project where we had to do regression testing at a time in a manual way. And at a certain release, we detected that the colors of the UI, they were changed, and the font size and the font type, they were smaller. But we ignored it, and we just continue with executing the regression test cases all over the time. That release went into production, and then all of a sudden the key users were screaming. They were creating tickets at the help desk. And they say, come on guys, how did you miss that? And what we didn't know, or we were not fully aware, that application was used on very small tablets. And of course, with a smaller font type, they couldn't even read the field. So for them, it was a real big thing, but we just missed it because we were so in a routine of only looking to functional things. So question one answered, there is no such thing as the objective truth. Next thing, do our metrics reach the audience? Why are stakeholders around the table, why are they not asking questions? Why are they not reacting? Simply, data tsunami. You saw my example of my test dashboard. I thought I did a big job. It was full of data. And when I was preparing this presentation, I found on a site of a tool vendor, I will not mention the name, I found 64 essential testing metrics. Imagine that you in your first job as a tester, test coordinator, you have to think about which metrics should I take. And then you come on this kind of sites. That's insane. How the hell do you know out of the 64, which are really essential and which are really meaningful? Next thing, these nice graphs. This is, by the way, a graph that I made in one of the projects. I changed the name of the application. So it's showing for Q1 and Q2 how many new features we were testing, so the test cases for new features. What can you tell me about the performance of the test team? We were with 3 testers. Are we doing a good job? That's right. Indeed, this is a useless graph because you miss information. Okay, let's add some information. So now you see that in fact it's the goal to test every month at least every month at least you execute 30 new feature test cases. And I know number of test cases doesn't tell the complete story, but I repeat my question. What can you tell me about the performance of the test team? Nothing? Less productive? Yeah?
50% of coverage.
Yeah? In fact, we were blamed. So because first graph, I got this feedback after the meeting, not in the meeting, after the meeting at the coffee machine. One of the stakeholders say, hey guy, just make your graphs more meaningful. Okay, I just add the target. And then the next meeting, we were blamed for hell. The stakeholders were thinking, come on, guys, you're really doing a bad job because only in half of the period you reach your targets. What are you doing? You are with 3 testers. And now you are asking me to put more money for test resources. And then I thought, okay, maybe I still miss some information. And then by adding more information, then it was a completely other story. Because in fact, what we saw that in numbers of executed test cases, we did a good job. So we were not lazy sitting, doing nothing, no. But the problem was that we put every month a lot of effort in doing regression testing. And we were facing issues, so we had to do a lot of, in some months we had to do up to 3 cycles of the regression test cases. And in fact, that was the problem. We had to put too much effort in those regression test cases, and then we could start a meaningful discussion with the stakeholders. And they say, okay, now we understand why you ask me for more resources. But maybe, first of all, look, fine-tune your set of regression test cases and try to automate them. And then we will look how the figures will evolve. And then I realized, okay, now I understand why my metrics didn't reach the audience. And then, why should subjective reporting now help us? Why should it be an alternative to avoid all this kind of pitfalls that I just have shown? First of all, I thought, okay, if I come with the idea of subjective test reporting, I don't know if it's an official term in ISTQB, I don't think so. So at least I want to find some stable ground, and I found a good argument in the World Quality Report. The World Quality Report, I can really recommend it. It's an edition published by Capgemini every year, giving you an idea about the trends in QA worldwide. And in edition of 21-22, they said, we, from quality point of view, we need to shift the focus from IT quality to product quality. And that's my personal belief as well. We still miss a big thing in traditional testing. Traditional testing, if you see the activities we do in testing, typically you can put it in one of those categories. Or we do actions that you can consider as quality control, executing test cases. Or you can say, like doing reviews, then you can say assessments, that's a kind of quality assurance. But we miss value assurance. Value assurance, that's for me, process of checking if projects make the right value commitment to the business and deliver on these objectives. If you as a company, you bring software, products on the market, and you print, it will bring you this and this experience. How do we measure it? And do we measure it in any kind of way? And I know value is a very vague term. So for me, you have different aspects. Product value. In Belgium, they say a product is worth what a fool wants to pay for it. And maybe if you think about, that's why luxury goods always are quite stable. Whatever the crisis is, did you ever heard that, for example, automotive like Porsche would go bankrupt during crisis? No. They have those standards. User experience. That's the thing where we think with testers, yes, we covered that. We do usability testing. We look on the colors and all those things. Yes, true. That's only one aspect. But did you think about customer experience? Do you think if a user accesses a website, can he find the information in his own language. If you chat, because a lot of companies have only chatbots, is it a real chatbot or something stupid programmed when after 2 questions you are in a dead end? And if one of those aspects is not well, you miss the complete value for your customer. A short anecdote. My mother, she is 80, and she is already for her life loyal as hell to the same telecom provider. And even I told her, Mother, you have the most expensive subscription. Please change from the provider. No, it's good for me, it works. 2 weeks ago, she had a problem with her mobile. She went to the shop. The guy behind the desk, he was explaining and he was solving the issue. And within 20 seconds, the problem was solved. My mother was out of the shop, completely desperate. And she called me and she said, and at first I thought, okay, she had an accident. No, it was just, he was so desperate because she said, the guy, he was explaining all things I couldn't follow. And I don't know if it happens again, how can I solve it myself? And the funny thing was, and then I calmed down. I said, okay, no stress, okay. And the funny thing was, at the last thing of the conversation, she said, but now I will change from telecom provider. And this is just a small example, because one thing was for her making so a big impression that she didn't experience the value that she believed in it and thought for it. And do you know the watermelon effect? That's what we do with testing. That's what we do. We do acceptance testing. Very good. But we only do focus typically on user interface, usability. It's green outside, red inside, because we didn't test on the real user experience. We didn't test on the real customer experience. So we believe we have something that is high standard quality, but in the end, it isn't. And if we look to other disciplines like ITIL, it's a standard used in IT service management. In the last version of their methodology, they have added a new kind of level agreements. They call it experience level agreements, just because they realized we need to measure somehow the experience, the user experience. So if they have it, why can't we have it as a standard in our testing? And then, of course, maybe you can say, okay, come on, guy, tell me how I do then this kind of subject depth reporting. I will show you 4 formats, which I experimented with in different projects, and which can give you thoughts and ideas to the same, or maybe you have others. First thing is customer satisfaction metrics. That's nothing new. It's like you have in marketing, and where you, for example, the net promoter score of the customer effort score, it's how many effort does it cost the user to use your product. Maybe we can ask the same question to our business. How many effort does it cost to use a new release in production? Do you know the technique of fist of 5 in Agile? Are you familiar with fist of 5 technique? In Agile, there is a technique called the fist of 5, where by showing a couple of number of fingers, max 5, of course, the confidence you have in a planning. So if you have those quarterly PI plannings, then every team has to express, I'm, for example, 3 fingers confident that we will reach the planning. we can do the same for testing. With the test team, with the stakeholders, how confident are we in the release going to production? And everyone, at the same time, we express all our confidence in quality. That's one way. Second is what I call the business mood board. And the business mood board consists of two parts. The first part is showing the business happiness index, and it was based on this kind of fist of five technique. So every time we had a new release, everyone was expressing the confidence. And then you see here, particular that there was still some issues open, and then in the second part, we put for every component or module we had to test, we defined 3 topics that were important for that module. And you see, for example, for the personalized module, then the defects, the number of defects were important. The bugs that came through crowd testing were important, while, for example, the second module there, we focus more on performance, percentage of automation. And by just coloring, then you have in one view, okay, here for this module, there are quite some defects open. And finally, we express a mood, the total mood for every module. But this worked very well with the stakeholders because it's one slide and they looked at it, and then we started really having a discussion. Really having a discussion about, okay, here maybe is it, for example, is there a possibility to go only with this module and this module into production? Can we separate it from each other? So this is second format, business mood board. The third one is what I call the quadrant question. That was especially in the project where I had no interaction at all with the stakeholders, at least interaction, no reaction on what we were publishing. And then I thought maybe I have to be a little bit more expressive, less shy. And then I thought, what can I really trigger those people? And I knew that the budget sponsor was in the group of stakeholders. And then, okay, let's put a question about the money. Because those guys, they are only interested in how do you spend, how do you manage the money that I gave you for your project? And so I started with this kind of explicit question. How do we plan to spend your money for testing? And I can tell you the first time they saw this graph, they were looking like, what are you doing, guy? And then I take 2 axes, so risk of failure, and then the level of test coverage. And we had, at that customer, we were working on 4 projects, but we didn't have enough time, enough resources to deal with all the projects at the same time, and some priorities had to be made at that moment. And then I added in each quadrant a quite explicit couple of words, really to attract the attention. And then especially they were all directly focusing on the way too much. They say, hey, stop with that. What are you doing? Are you still working on the orange project? Why are you doing that? Why can you not use my money for doing something else? Okay, then maybe here we can put more money. We can maybe shift one test resource from this project to this project where we are doing to list. And that way, that triggered the discussion, especially with the guy that was managing the money. And the last thing is, the last format I've used is based on personas. So personas, maybe you know this concept. It's typically used when you, in the design, in the analysis phase, you create some typical users. You describe them, what they are doing, which parts of the system they are using. We just retook those personas because they were available. The added value was that the business they knew those personas, because they gave input for defining the personas. And we just colored them based on the traffic lights, green, yellow, and red. And in that project, that works also very good, because then with the business, we could think, okay, the Justin, we can release that. And it was technically possible. And okay, for the Maggie persona, we need to do more testing. We need to wait for next sprint to see how this color is changing. So easy way to start the discussion. So 4 formats, and maybe there are other, and I'm very interested if you have some other ideas in this, but what I want that you take away from this presentation is, okay, I don't say that the raw data, you can throw them away. Of course not. Because in the end, the subjective reporting is based on some raw data. But my message is, don't start reporting directly from the raw data. Try to, what I call, try to do it more fun from a subjective way. And I feel that colors express emotions, express feelings, and it creates more quickly a discussion with people. And then you can discuss. And maybe at the end, and that happened in those projects, maybe at the end the business took a decision which personally I wouldn't do, but that was good. At least we had a real discussion about what is going on, what is the status about. So my message is, dare to embrace subjectivity as the new normal. And I don't know if there is time for questions, but I'm very interested. If you really say, bullshit, I don't believe in it, fine for me, I really want to discuss about it. If you have similar ideas, experiences, other ways of presenting, please contact me. I'm here around tomorrow, or contact me through mail. I'm definitely want to hear your experience as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Wim. Yeah, maybe one word from my side. I was actually really relieved that when I saw that subjectivity is not one technique that you should follow. I was afraid that you will say, hey, what you are doing until now is like trash. I have a better idea, yeah. Do it.
No, because that's it's not a good idea to say, okay, throw everything away. But it's just another way to present things and to really start that discussions, which I didn't have with the traditional reporting.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, those ideas that you have mentioned are actually a part of SAFE framework, right? Like personas, like...
Some are related to the SAFE framework, but in fact, for me, you can apply them in whatever the project methodology, waterfall, agile, scrum, agile, whatever agile-ish way you are working, it's applicable. In some of those, let me think, yeah, this one, we started, that was in an agile project based on 2-week sprints. And the first sprint, I told the Scrum Master, I want to present it in another way. And he saw that, and during the retrospective, he said, we stop with that. I say, why? I don't believe in it. I say, give me at least 3 sprints to present it like this. And then after 3 sprints, they start, okay, yeah, it creates another dynamic when we talk about shipping to production. So don't believe me, it's just easy peasy, fingers in the nose. No, it's convincing, trying out, and look for some champions to at least give it a try.
Something like trying to estimate and build team velocity within Scrum projects?
Yeah.
What I mean is that this needs time, right?
Yeah, definitely. You have, and that's for me Agile as well. try new techniques. If you see that things are not working, just try it and evaluate after a couple of sprints, and maybe then someone has another idea to tackle a point that is difficult at some point in time.
Okay, sorry for taking over. Maybe some questions from audience? Wait, let me give you a microphone because this will be recorded.
How do you keep track on business mood board?
How do you keep track? So that was based on the. So yeah, first behind every color we had defined. For this one, I thought if there were between 10 and 15 open defects in its orange, above 20 it's red. So behind the colors you need to have a kind of legend to explain, but it was documented, but not on the first slide. And this one was really by using the technique of the fist of five. So you can tell I gave this presentation last week, and then someone was saying, yeah, but if I had a bad night, then I will vote maybe 1. If it's sunny outside, yeah. Maybe if it's sunny outside, then I will, yeah, but the fact that, and it's like an agile as well, and then I told that person, okay, but you apply those techniques in agile. In agile, it's a well-known, accepted technique. Why can't we just try to do it assess about testing, about quality? And then that guy, okay, I didn't look at it like that. So, and the fact that it was based on the sum and the average of everyone's fist of five, then we came to what was an average mood.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from audience? Okay.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for this sharing. I was actually thinking on my own experience, and 10 years ago, I tried something similar with subjective reporting. And what I realized is that the numbers will tell a story, but your gut feeling can tell a different story. So I used just a simple rag, so red, amber, green, just to show what was the gut feeling of the test lead from the project at that time. Because sometimes you have the numbers and it's green, but you know what will come, right? And the numbers are not yet showing it. So just, we had basically two colors. One was the color from the metrics. The other one was
the
your
gut feeling.
Your gut feeling. And even without any technique, just the gut feeling, that show some value to the stakeholders.
Yeah.
So it was more to share this experience.
Thank you for this addition.
Thank you.
Wim, thanks a lot for the info you provided. I have a question. First, how to get stakeholders to care more about metrics, and maybe just using these metrics. And the second, many people tend to use some specific tool for metrics, and
Excel.
whatever.
Yeah.
But every tool, have some abilities. And the problem I have usually, I have something in my mind, how to visualize things, then I need to use some tool. And then after 2 hours working with the tool, I found out I created something different. Because the tool just offered me the options and I just used them, and that's basically ruined my intention. So what I'm trying to do is now to draw it first on the paper, but still, to get to the specific visualization is somehow tough. So if you have any tips on that.
Yeah, and for those, because you don't have, at least the tools that are on the market, I don't know any tool that provide you creating this kind of board. So that's really based on PowerPoint as tool, Excel as tool, based on raw data and tools like Quality Center, Jira, and that stuff. So if there would be a tool that gives you the ability to, and in some projects we used the wiki and the Confluence pages to put those dashboards on it, because then it was already more integrated in one ecosystem.